Welcome to the Thinking Tackle podcast. Now, if you haven't already, make sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss an episode. Now, actually, welcome back to the Thinking Tackle podcast. If you have just finished listening to the first part of our Legends episode with Ritchie McDonald and Pete Springate. Gentlemen, welcome back to part 2.
Thank you.
We're going to kick off at Wraysbury, which, Pete, I think we worked out, is it maybe at least a 30-year association for you?
I don't know about 30 years, but it was a long time, I know. When I first set foot on Wraysbury in 1967, and that was when Hall & Co. first opened it up. And obviously I was fishing for tench and what have you then. And it wasn't until a good few years later that I saw the carp in Wraysbury. And then...
What made you think that you could catch them, Pete?
I didn't. I started fishing for tench, as I say, and I got to know the water quite well and knew roughly, because it was like 2 lakes, and I had a barge going across to an island so you could fish off the island. And I met these couple of guys. One was a grave digger, I know, but I met up with them and they come from North London and we used to fish for tench and whatever. And then I learned that at certain conditions you had to be in either the South Lake or the North Lake on certain. And I just enjoyed it because there was hardly anybody on there and it was a big old water and it was lovely. And then I joined Hoover, and that I had to go to Lutterworth on a training course for 5 weeks, and it so happened that it was in the close season, and I thought, oh, that's all right. Well, that close season, I've gone up there for this training course, and Hall & Co. or Leisure Sport, whatever one it was, RMC maybe, decided to open it up as an experiment during the close season. So you could fish during the close season, whereas before you couldn't. And they opened Wraysbury, Darranth and somewhere else. And I thought, oh, bloody hell, Anyway, Easter came. I shot it was either Easter or no, it must have been the May bank holiday. And I come, the course was finished, and they told me I had to go out with this other engineer, just to sort of show me the ropes. So I've gone round this bloke's house, knocked on the door, and his mum's answered the door. She said to me, oh, he's out the back in the toilet, come in and have a cup of tea, And as I walked in the front room, I could see these angler's mow and angling time. I thought, oh, he's a fisherman. And that was when I met Kenny Odder. And I told him that I'd be going over there to fish for the weekend, because it was a bank holiday weekend. He said, where's that then? And I told him. Anyway, I had a motor caravan at the time, so I've gone over there with my motor caravan, and I was with this girl. And... I'd been fishing all night, and he turned up, and he's knocked on the caravan sheet or motor caravan, and he says, Pete about? She said, oh, he's a kip at the moment. Anyway, he went and set up, and that bank holiday weekend, I see all these carp, and it's the first time I'd seen the carp in there, and they were spawning, and they was thrashing the bloody weed beds to pieces, So I got a bit of some bread, crust, and I was trying to never. But that was when I first saw him, and that was before I started even fishing for carp, sort of thing. And then it was a few years later that I'd been to Darranth and been all over the place, and then I went back to try and catch them,
What do you think those original fish were? Original in inverted commas. This is pre the Rainers fish going in, wasn't it, I guess?
Oh, yeah, long before. A couple of them I thought were 20-pounders, I I didn't really have any idea of they just looked big to me, you know what I mean? But
and tell us a little bit about what Wraysbury was like then, because it developed a reputation as a lawless place, really, didn't it? So maybe a bit later on.
Yeah. Well, when I first fished over there, as I say, when I first started carp fishing over there, you could leave your bivvy up all week.
Really?
And nobody would be, and then it was a few years later that the jippos and all that, came on. And
late 70s, Pete, wasn't it? I imagine.
Yeah. But no, at first it was, nobody used to walk round it, it was, but anyway.
Like your own little private sort of Eden, really.
Yeah, it was. And then, I don't know, at one of the meetings I heard that this guy, Keith Roberts, wasn't it?
Keith Roberts.
He spent a year on there fishing, and had a walk round, and I see a fish that I thought was bigger than Walker's record at the time. And that was it. And then me and Ritchie decided to have a go on there. And yeah.
So the session you did with Rich was early in your Wraysbury fishing for carp?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I don't know whether it was that year. It probably was that year. It was about, I don't know.
I think you and Kenny had been fishing here for a year.
I know I'd had one carp out, and I stalked out of the swimming pool, what they now call the swimming pool, or did call the swimming pool, and it was in amongst some pads. And I put a little bit of red floater out, and I sat there for 4 hours waiting for this fish, and eventually he took it, and it was a 25-pound mirror, absolutely gorgeous. I was over the moon, and then it might have been a year later then when me and you fished there, and
I think what happened is Kenny went away to Ireland, didn't he?
No.
And then
did he go to
we
Ireland?
were in touch, and you said, look, Kenny's going away, do you fancy coming over at Wraysbury for a weekend? I think that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
And so you were fishing an North Farm. And
Yeah.
And you said you were going to come round and start trying on the South Farm. So I said, okay, then I'll meet you down there, Douglas Road, wasn't it?
Yeah, because, that's right. He said to me, let's go over there. Oh, we decided to go over there. And I said, go into Douglas Lane and pick any swim you want, right? I've got to go to a funeral, go to my nan's funeral. I said, no, I'll be down when it's all over, like. I turned up, and I think it was a Route Nightmare, I'm not too sure what the swim was. And the first thing you said to me is, you didn't go to a funeral dressed like that. I had a jacket on that was a bit leery, like, And well, what's the matter? Anyway, I got in a swim a little bit further on, and he told me that he had seen a fish roll. Like.
I'd seen a fish out. The first thing I actually did say to him was, have you got your boat? I might have said something about the attire after that, but the first thing I said to him, have you got your boat? Why? I was just seeing fish out there about 140 yards. So we got set up. I went out with a boat with a load of bait. Found a bar out there, threw the bait over, come back, got my rods, rode them out there. Now, this wind is this high, so it's a full 20, 25 maybe. So it's on the way back, it's like a speedboat, no problem. So I does that, comes back to him, said, right, there you go, mate, I can't swim. So I had to row his boats out as well. Well, over that, Pete says we've done 2 weeks.
The first, I don't think we rowed them out the first weekend. I think it was the second weekend.
So, first weekend then we must have blanked.
We did blank. We did.
Yeah. Right, I've got it wrong then. So
I've got it all written down in here. Right, but
that's why I can't argue. Well, that's me in the boat. You can see that.
It's anything to do with that picture.
Yeah.
So there's that little boat there. There ain't no waves at the moment. So that's obviously the first time I went out. But you ain't got no other pictures with the waves, have you?
No,
there is.
We haven't.
I did give you some pictures.
The one with the rods out, is that the same trip? With the waves in the background? Yeah.
Well,
it's got to be a rod shot, Tobes.
Yeah.
Because that's when it is iffy going out there in that little boat. Right, so anyway, after that, And we ran boats out continuously. As the speech says, it must have been the second weekend when we had 11 chances. And by the time we had half a dozen chances each, or whoever had what, I all written down here, I can't remember who had what, but I had a 28, you had a 26, and you had a 25. Yeah. But in between time, I've had enough of running this fucking boat out, man. It's doing my head in. I said, but I know where there is one.
Yeah, yeah.
I said, all right. I said, yeah, we have to go across round Longfield to get it. Like, geezer's never used it, and I've been there for years. It's never been used. I don't know where it works or not. So I went and got this boat, and I took the opportunity to take a load of bait with me to bait up Longfield.
That was a maple, wasn't
it? Yeah, maple.
Yeah.
And basically, fucking rode this boat across Longfield. I'm throwing all this bait out everywhere. Well, Pete's doing the road, I'm throwing all the bait out everywhere.
Well, when he says rowing, we had one bit of bloody plank of wood. And this boat is one of them great big
it's
ones.
A skiff.
Yeah, you know, one of them double skin bloody. And a bloke was using it to prop his fence up. That was what it was. And to get it over this fence, and we had a right game.
His fence then fell down, presumably, immediately.
We don't know anything about it. Don't sit there and say it's a fence, all right, mate.
We was both fucking giggling and Christ knows what. And then we got it into Longfield, didn't we?
Yeah.
And we found a bit of wood.
Yeah, well, Pete knows it better than me. I thought we had raw, I don't know.
No.
But what I do know is this. That basically, when Pete was rowing across with this bit of wood, I was throwing bait out left and centre. Yeah. Right? So next thing, we get back to Raysbury. I think.
Hang on. Before we get back to Raysbury, we had gone into the car park at Longfield. You got your estate car, trying to get it into the back of the estate car. It wouldn't even go in. And we got it halfway in, and we had to drive all the way, from... Lucky enough, it was fucking about 2 o'clock in the morning when it started. Lucky enough, it weren't far.
I love how this is a voyage of discovery for Richie because he's forgotten all the stories.
I don't remember that. I thought we went in a Hoover van and put it on the
top. No.
Right, okay. Right, well, basically what I fucking do know for sure.
Yeah, the next day, or that morning.
Yeah, well... That was about 2:30 in the morning. 3:30, 4:00. Don't forget, it was quite cold, so it was dark. This car swinging around the car park. It was a Range Rover. And who was it? Terry Disdale. So he's come straight up. We're wide awake now, aren't we? Just enjoy the fucking boat. Of course we're awake. It was fucking police too, is it?
We hit it as well, didn't we?
Anyway, with the boat's in the way, and the dinghy, it's all fucking in the way. Terry Disdale comes out. God, I need to borrow your boat. What boat?
We ain't got a boat.
So I says, I ain't got one. He says, yeah, I was just seeing you fucking run across Longfield for a load of bait out. So then we gave him the dinghy. My only regret about all that is that I never went back with him because he basically had the 38 on, which he went out with the dinghy and saw it. And if I'd have gone back with him, we would have got the fish out without a doubt. But unfortunately...
he said he was in the boat trying to play this fish, and it was taking him all round, and he was swearing.
Yeah, my regret is not going back with him because he would have.
And that was your big one from Yovany, was it? Was it that fish?
Yes.
Yeah. The 38. Yeah. I don't. Now you said you had 11 chances. Now in this day and age, people don't talk so much about chances, but I think one thing we have to recognise is how difficult it was to land fish then, like in comparison to the kit we've got now.
It's difficult to get a bite.
Yeah, right about land.
But
right,
first, it was just unreal,
these days, if you got a bite, you got a good chance of landing it.
Don't forget here, Rich. We were on £6 hook link, £8 main line, both of us. Right, we're fishing on a bar. Over the other side's 12, 14 odd foot deep. This side. Same sort of depth.
Yeah,
it's 9 foot above the bottom or below the surface, whatever. And basically, you've got 2 irons that way. And basically, what they would do, take the bait and run straight between the islands. That's the way they were coming through, to my knowledge, and that's the way they were going back when they were running away from us. And so we had very little chance. I mean, we both had similar amount of chances each, but we both just managed to land 1 fish each. And another really disappointing thing with Keith Roberts. I remember in 1976 when we went round there, and it was a year of drought, And when he's in June 1976, when the season started, the water was well up, so he was up high in the bank. But by the time August come, his fucking bivvy was miles away from the Roger all the way down there. He even went to one of them bleeding shops where you get extension leads and got extension leads for his buzzer cables.
Yeah.
And I remember him coming round to
He come round when we was,
And I had a run in front of him, he couldn't believe it. He said, fucking hell, we've only been here 10 minutes.
We've got a shot of Ritchie playing one, I think, haven't we, Tobes?
Oh, that was
Is that different? Is that cons?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Carry on, Rich, anyway, sorry.
Right, so basically, well, that was our story from Freeball.
So you had the fish that went on to be called the Hoover, which we
I
had
had 28,
Tobes. Yeah.
and then Pete had a lovely comment at 26 or 25, whatever, or 26, I think.
Yeah,
maybe.
the one, do we definitely got to pop the one of the Hoover?
We both had the same
I'm
suits
going
on.
to call it the Hoover. It wasn't called that then, was it? But there you go.
No name on it then.
Yeah. Incredible fish.
That
The
was
colours
the one,
on
that
it.
was the one I first. That was my first fish out of Raysbury that I caught from the swimming pool. We both had the Gore-Tex suits.
Yeah, exactly
They
the same,
just
yeah.
came out, you know.
Yeah. Well, we loved it in the rain then.
Yeah.
What kind of tactics did you use to get those bites, boys? And how were you doing the same thing as each other?
Well, basically,
Oh yeah.
yeah, it was exactly the same. We were fishing on the same bar. But
The only difference was he had the brand new 11.5 Sportex rods at the time.
yeah, but we weren't casting out, were we? I was riding
No. And I had glass rods or whatever it was at the time. And I remember going down to the bloody phone box at the end of Douglas Lane, phoning up the carp seller and ordered 3 Sportex.
Right.
Yeah.
Were they Conaflex?
No, they were Sportex.
Sportex, that's it, yeah.
And Pete, in hindsight, some of the fish you lost would have been, tremendous carp, wouldn't they?
You just don't know what
don't
they
know,
were.
don't
I was beginning to think that a lot of them were catfish because you're just getting runs, and I had runs that took all the line off the spool,
Really?
and other times the hook come back opened. It was just unbelievable.
Do you still believe that to this day?
What?
That there could have been catfish? Or do you think they were
I
carp?
don't know. I really don't know.
Because the lake didn't go on to do catfish, did it?
No, they did stock some catfish in there, and I made inquiries, but nobody ever caught one out of there. But no, it was just unbelievable.
Rich, I'm interested that you didn't decide to persevere with Raysbury, did you?
No, I was doing well at Longfield. I was doing well on the cons. I think it was the same year that me and you went to the cons, wasn't it, when I took you as a guest there?
Well,
And I was doing well on other lakes.
Despite the fact that Peter's seen what could be the biggest carp in the country, or one of.
Yeah, but Yateley was containing some big carp as well, you see.
see, that's the thing. He said to me, let's go down to Yateley, and I had already fished at Yateley, so I knew. And we'd gone down there, and we went down for one weekend, and I managed to catch the Ever the Lever. It weren't called Ever the Lever then. It was 27 pound. Ritchie took the photos. I caught it on a bit of floater. And we spent the weekend there, and he turned around and he said to me, I don't like this place. I said, why don't you like it? He said, too many people for me.
But you were obviously to return, weren't you, and do really well.
Yeah.
But there is a picture of Pete with Heather.
But yeah.
One sec. So
Oh.
there you go.
yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one there? Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, before you put my Heather up, when it comes round, put the map up first so I can go through the story.
Yeah.
I'm going to stand up and go over to that board when you put that map up. Is that all right?
Yeah, that's fine. You'll have to take a.
Yeah.
You might have to steal a microphone. Don't unplug it. Oh God,
No, I
no.
won't do that.
But we'll.
I can
What-
swing Pete's around anyway.
Yeah. Do that.
What effect did seeing that one have on you, Rich?
Yeah, it's wonderful fish, still is. Well, obviously died, but I remember when Robin Dix caught it, it was magnificent. That's the first time I thought, wow, got to have some of that. But before that, when Sam Fox caught not Sam Fox, the fellow that caught it before Sam Fox at 40 odd. What's his name? The Polish guy, was it Jan Wenska?
Oh, yeah, it might have been.
When he caught it, it looked magnificent. I thought, well, I've got to have some of that. And I think I was at Savo at the time, and Rod and I discussed going down to fish it together. Anyway, I had a mate that lived around the corner, so I went down to see him. I said, he had a couple of young kids working for him. I said, oh, yeah, there's a load of bait. Go around and bait this particular swim up if there's no one fishing. If there's only one fishing, don't bait. So I baited this swim up, which is called the Christmas tree. When I arrived, there was someone fishing there. I thought, oh, bollocks. So I walked up with that box on my back over there. And as I just took my box off, I thought, might as well fish tonight. Took the box off, I ain't got it to the floor. I went, get his head. So I've dropped the box down, gone down. He's got it. And Sam Fox was named £43, I think it was. So I've gone back to the swim. I thought, well, I might as well do it tonight. So anyway, I've had an 18-pounder. And then I left it. I've just left the water alone for a couple of months. And when I went back, I had a 29, a 23, and a 45.
It's just like that.
Just like that, yeah. Well, not just like that. No, so I worked. I started back in the September, and I called it in the October.
Mm. Still a good, quick result for what was.
Well, there weren't many people fishing it, and plus, when I weren't there, if there was no one else fishing, I had two lads putting bait in for me, and I baited. Right, what it was, there's the island there. There's the Christmas tree there. People fishing there. The bank comes around here, the point comes out here, and you can fish down at the island as well. And I thought that this fish ain't going to go this way. If he's going to go to this Christmas tree, he's got to come round this way. It's the most private place for it. No one really fishes over there. So I put a bait over there, bait down on a Christmas tree. I thought it's got to be the only two places away. Mm. Right, this is where luck comes in fishing. I've just gone for a wee, and I thought, don't look that great. It's a bit I'm going to go and reel in, and I'll go and have a drink with my mate round the corner. And as I've come back on the path, Jeff and Wendy Dams came out to see me. They used to be regular when I was at Alton and Longfield. They used to come and see me. So, what, cup of tea? Yeah, made them a cup of tea. Halfway through the cup of tea, it was away. So if they hadn't come, I wouldn't have caught it that day. I would have caught it eventually, but not that day.
And Pete, this is a fish that you'd caught how long before? I don't know.
Wow, years.
I can't remember now.
70s?
Well, I caught it in 84, and Pete would have caught it in 78, 79.
Something like that.
Hmm. What are your memories of the North Lake yourself?
Hold up. When did you catch the 20?
Which one?
Oh, yeah, that's the point. Yeah, Basil, you caught Basil at 20, didn't you?
No, I caught Basil 31.8.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. 79 I caught that, Basil. Because
31?
Yeah, because it had just spawned. I see it the year before I went to the close season when I saw the fish in Yovany. I'd seen this one in Yateley, and the plan was to bait Longfield and Yateley. And then after seeing a fish in Yovany, I decided that we'd start baiting all three. And then, I don't know why, but I put that fish, Kenny called it PHS. That's what he nicknamed it.
Right.
Because that was my initials. Because I see it, and I was up a tree, looking straight down on it, and I called him. I said, "Here, get up here and have a look at this fish." And at the time, we put it at £35. That was the year before. And anyway, we decided to put that on the back burner and concentrate on Yovany. And then after I'd had the Yovany fish, and Yovany was no longer, we went on to Yateley. And I had it at 31.8. And talking to Robin Dix's mate, Gary Powers, I think his name was, he told me that it had spawned the week before. And when I got it, Tim Norman and Terry Lampard come round, and I'm holding it, and there was all milk coming out of it. It was just hollow. Mm. And I'm convinced it would have been £35 if it had.
It makes a lot of sense when Ritchie caught it 5 years later at obviously a
Yeah.
much bigger weight.
Yeah.
I think Gary Pales catch you at £20 as well, didn't
Yeah,
he? Twice,
yeah.
didn't he? Yeah.
I think Terry Lampard caught it as well.
Yeah, he
didn't he?
did. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's fascinating about that, before we move back onto your capture, Rich, is that Yateley and Longfield are not particularly close, Pete. I think just for context,
Oh no.
you're baiting 3 lakes, 2
Yeah.
of which are close to each other, but the other one's not.
Yeah. Well, in the meantime and all, at one, I don't know what year, I was baiting Airfield as well. Like, you know, me and Kenny were sort of, yeah. Well, the Hoover vans, we didn't have to worry about the petrol money.
Yeah.
You know?
Or the miles you're putting on it.
Yeah.
No, but you obviously, the effort was there.
Oh yeah.
And how much bait are you talking?
Not a huge amount of bait, you know, because we
Nothing
was
like
laying rolling it. It was making their own baits, like, you know what I mean?
And how did you decide where to put it? Was it just on a hunch, or were these fish you were seeing, and
Just a
or
hunch,
you're pre-baiting
really.
a lake as such, like
Yeah,
just getting them used to the
pre-baiting the
food?
lake, really.
Yeah. And did you feel? I mean, albeit 5 years later, Rich, was that your view as well, that you would?
Yeah, I knew it had been caught prior.
Right, so you had a bit
wherever
of
a fish
info,
gets caught,
yeah.
it's going to revisit that area. And also, you can find out if you bait in a certain area, once it finds that area free of with food, it will return to that area from time to time. If it's going in regular enough, the fish will come back regular enough. Especially on water, it's not like the day ticket waters that we see today, where anglers are on there constantly. Back in our day, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, you wouldn't very, very rarely see people.
Yeah.
That's when we had our best times. That's when I started professional angling, like working for the shops. I'd only work at weekends, so I could fish Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. That's with today's people. Fortunately for them, they've got jobs that allows them to fish all week virtually. You know what I mean? So our day ticket waters are quite busy from Tuesday onwards. The only days really free are Sunday and Monday if you're lucky. But other than that, they get quite busy. But back in the day, you could go down there on a Sunday afternoon and have the lake to yourself.
Did you see bait as a way to shortcut to a capture? Like, was it as big a weapon then as it is now?
Well, to us, it was like feeding kids. If you found an area that other people didn't frequently fish, it was like having them in a fish tank. Because you keep putting bait in that area, that fish will revisit it. And the more it don't get caught there, the more often it will come there. That's in my old opinion. I mean, I don't know about now.
Don't forget, in them days, there was no rigs and things.
Yeah.
You know, it was just,
So actually, that kind of training of a fish to revisit is more powerful than
we
any
did have the
that you
rigs,
had.
but
Yeah.
not the rigs that we've got today.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, we had
yeah.
the hair rig, basic hair rig, but not like
Well,
we've got
that was
today.
later, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, no, 81 we had the hair.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
cool.
When you were first on Yateley, it wasn't.
Oh yeah,
but
when you were
by the
first,
time-
yeah. I went.
I feel like we've brushed over. Sorry, what is in many people's opinions one of the iconic moments of modern carp fishing, and that's your capture of basil. Fish that obviously, I don't know, it wasn't called basil at the time, was it?
No,
Rich?
no.
But that capture, it was on packaging. We discussed that earlier. For instance, it sort of, for me, it's in that. It's as iconic as Walker. For a generation of people, that your capture was inspirational. I think. Why do you think it sort of caught fire like that, Rich?
The media.
So there was media. The Angling Times.
Yeah.
Was that the famous? And there's a bigger one inside.
Yeah, I mean, it absolutely blew it right up in the air. I mean, I remember seeing Keith that week when it came out, and he was gutted. Well,
This
especially when that Keith O'Connor,
Yeah.
Pt.2, I call him, right? But he was upset that there was an even bigger
He'd
one
been knocked
inside.
off. He was on the cover,
Yeah,
but
he was on
really the
front cover,
headline
but
wasn't
the headline
his.
was inside.
Yeah.
And of course, Angling Times pretty much looked after me in a way, because basically they'd done a little series with me. They paid for me to go to Casein the following year. I'd done the really good thing about it, Greg Minahan done it with me, and he can back me up in this. He's a church going person, he don't tell lies. And basically what happened, when I went to Casein, under the banner Angling Times, I got in touch with Tri-Line as well. They gave me free line. And Angling Times at the time, from what Greg was told me back in the day, their output was 60 to 70,000. After I'd been doing this series on the third week, it jumped to 120,000. That was something else. That was.
Do you think that's the power of this, this big carp scene that was emerging around you at the time?
I think it was emerging as when Chris caught and Pete's. I mean, look, I think Pete has emerged carp fishing. People that have caught captures other than Pete and myself have emerged carp fishing. It's been on the grow all the time since the hair rig took off. If the hair rig had never been invented, carp fishing wouldn't be as big today, because carp fishing has become easier thanks to Danny, obviously, and all the other people, Pete Mowen, as I mentioned earlier, and Tim Page and people like that. And because of social media has made it massive. You can catch a fish from one lake in the country today, and within seconds your mate in Kent will know about it.
Which is why it raises a smile when you told the story about receiving news about Chris's record. A man physically came and told you that it happened 2 days ago, otherwise you'd have been absolutely none the wiser, would you?
And the other thing that Pete and Kelly done, which was the first, they used to have walkie-talkies.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
So they could split up on Raysbury. I remember that well, Pete, because I remember coming back to see you one night, what the fuck's that? Walkie-talkie, mate. And so that was another game changer in itself, because Kenny could be on one side. I think you both fished different sides for a while.
Yeah.
Why your relationship with Kenny, Pete? Why was that? Why were you able to have that sort of that trust and that kind of sharing when really that wasn't going on in the wider sense in fishing, was it, at the time?
I don't know. Just it was working together, sort of. And it just evolved, really. I mean, I don't know.
I think when you got to know people, after you'd fished the same lake for a few months, you tend to take them into your confidences, and that's how friendships.
See, Kenny, when I first met him, he was a match angler. He wasn't a carp angler at all, and he gradually started fishing for carp.
And obviously, having associated with you, he's now got a swim named after him as well on Burfield, doesn't he? So you can't get the Springate effect, obviously.
But talking about the media again, it's like Raysbury when I caught Mary and I caught the brace. The next thing I knew, I've got the bloody the papers coming down. The Daily Mirror. Oh, we want to talk to the bloke that's caught this fish called Mary. Like, gone into the Persian. Remember, we used to go into Persian for breakfast. Bloody barman. He said, "I've just been reading about you in the Sunday supplement."
It can't be overstated that, because it'd be the equivalent of being on telly now, wouldn't it? That because the papers were that big a deal back then, weren't they?
Yeah.
Everyone got them.
Not as quick though. I mean, today it's 10 times quicker a day than what it was then.
But I think what we are saying though, gents, is that your capture of Basil, Walker's win with Clarissa, the Bishop with Yatesy, your Yovany brace, your brace from Raysbury, they're landmarks for me, in terms of the way big carp fishing grew, and they're images that inspired the next lot of people. Even the next lot of people who went on to Raysbury, your Laney's and all that, who again have gone and left their mark, haven't they? I guess that in the moment there's no way you can know that they're going to be like that. But do you look back and think, do you know what, that was a moment for me? That was one of the big moments.
Well, I mean, I don't look at it like that. It's just it's just a part of my journey, so to speak. And
you're renowned for being quite modest, though, Pete, if I may say. That the brace, the Yovany brace is often pointed out as one of people's favourite shots, and obviously Richie, what are your memories of let's say the Mary and Mary's mate brace that Pete had? Because obviously that's
right. First of all, I was out of the game then.
Yeah. Were you sort of? We're talking 94, Pete.
Yeah, I was raging alcoholic.
No, it was
92, something like that. Yeah,
I was just on the borderline of being. I was coming out of fishing anyway, so I never saw the picture of that. My iconic captures of all time is Pete's brace from Yovany, without a doubt. And then of course Dick Walker's fish, because I actually saw that fish in London Zoo when I was 13 years of age.
I did.
This is what I talk about history. I mean, I know my history. I knew who caught what, Morrissey and what he caught and what Dick Walker caught. But I'm on a lake now which gets loads of people, and everybody knows certain people But nobody knows Dick Walker.
Who's the most famous anglers now, that, in your experience, given what you hear on Norton Disney?
It'll be Tom Stokes, Danny Fairbrass, Rob Burgess. I hope I don't forget anybody, boys, but I'm going to forget somebody. Don't have a go at me when I get back. But, you know, all these lads, most of the Korda lads, then you've got your Nashes, and then you've got Nashes people, you've got your Jules Cunliffe. There's so many people now, all on a high level. Back in our day, you had people on a similar level, but it was a bit like. But now they're on a very similar level. Tom Stokes, in my opinion, stands a head and shoulders above everybody else at the moment. Like Will Hutchinson did.
Do you know what I love about Stokes is that he's entirely genuine with it.
Oh,
as
absolutely.
Well. Like,
that's why it's so
passion for
good.
it, you know, is right up there.
Anyone that's fished anywhere near me will tell you there's no angler on this planet I'm frightened of. None of them. Whoever you come in next to me, I'll even give you a bait. If I know where the fish are, I'll tell you where they are. I have fished with other top anglers that'll tell you the fish are over there when they're actually over there. Yeah. That I will not do. If the fish are in front of me, I'll tell you they're fucking in front of me. Get your fucking rod out there and out there. Put them beside me. I'll put a marker float out. Do not cross the marker float. I'll bait that side of it for you. Do not cross the marker float because you'll be on my bait. So far, no one's caught any fucking fish doing it.
Pete, you know, I get the impression that, you know, you still move within the same sort of circles as you always have, like the BCSG, a lot quieter than, let's say, where Rich is with his fishing. Are there anglers for whom you still see the same kind of passion that burn in your generation? Do you think they still exist?
There are, yeah, without a doubt. But I don't know. Half the anglers, I don't know half their names or whatever. I don't keep up with it like I should. It's like, I don't know.
It's getting quite big though, Matt, in terms of things to keep in your mind, isn't it? There's an awful lot now. It's a lot.
I just like to do my own thing, and you know,
It did seem that like you and Raisbury became pretty synonymous. You know, like you couldn't have one without the other. You were head bailiff for a while, weren't you, as well?
Oh yeah.
Did you have like what you could call like a genuine love for that lake?
I did, yeah. To start with, I mean, I pulled off in the end because there's so much hassle on there. You know, I mean, one night I'm the only one on the lake in Dredger Bay, and they've nicked the speedboats from the sailing club, and they're speeding all round the bloody lake night, and you could hear them shouting and laughing. There was probably about 30 of them over there, like, and I'm thinking to myself, I hope they don't know I'm here. I'll keep myself quiet. And then the next thing, they've got fed up with it, and they set fire to the bloody boats, and one's come through the gap, picked up my lines, like, and I think, oh shit, I hope it ain't going to blow up, like, you know.
So you had a flaming speedboat pick your lines up?
Yeah, yeah.
To be fair, I'd have been handing me bailiff's card in after that.
I mean, as well. And Dave Cumpstone, one weekend, he said to me, he said, ain't you going to have a word with them? Because they was all in the... as you walked in, not Douglas Lane in, but the other...
North end.
Yeah, you walk through, there's a big open area. I've turned up. There's sleeping bags dotted all over the place, like where they've had a rave that night, like. And he said to me, ain't you going to go and turn them up? I said, no, if you want them turned off, you go and have a word with them. I ain't, like.
What was Dave like as a character?
He was he certainly caught a few fish, but he lived on there. And
what was his situation? Because obviously, he, like you say, he lived at the lake and ate what he caught as well. Apart from the carp, we should say.
And he used to get by himself a sack of potatoes, and he'd put them on the fire, like, because he'd have a bonfire, open fire, with his big black kettle boiling over the top of it. Like, he was just a character.
Where did he come from? How did he come to be there?
He worked at Alders in Croydon. He was one of their chief buyers at the time, and he jacked it in. He used to fish. He fished. He came into some money. and he packed up work and went and fished in Ireland when Fred Wagstaff and Bob Reynolds were over there, pike fishing. And he lived on a loch over there on an island for a few years. And then he turned up on Raisbury. And then after he caught them fish, he just disappeared. And I tried to find out where he had gone, right? And then I found somebody's daughter got in touch. She wanted to try or his brother's daughter. She wanted to find out where he was, sort of thing. And it turns out he'd gone back to Ireland and he died out there. But people must have thought quite a bit of him because they put like a memorial stone, a big memorial stone, with his name and everything on it by the loch where he died.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. So apart from just eating pike and perch, he obviously had another life as well.
Yeah.
Over in Ireland.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, the stories that come off Raisbury are, among the kind of most colourful, aren't they? Let's say of that period.
Yeah.
Definitely had some different characters on there, without a doubt. I mean, Keith Roberts is another one that virtually
Oh
lived on the bank, wasn't
yeah.
he? I mean, he was definitely another bloke I remember. Remember Alf Angus?
His name rings a bell.
He used to fish Longfield, fished it for a couple of years. And he had a great big beard like Grizzly Adams. That's why I grew a beard. I wanted to have a beard like his, to be a great big mountain man. But it never come to fruition even now. I've been growing for 30 years, it still don't work.
Yeah, what about fish like the? Let's talk a bit about the fish. We've got some photos, Pete, of your fish from there. Obviously, fish like the Nick West 40 pound. Whatever happened to that? Whatever became of it?
I'm convinced it died because you could. As soon as the sun was up, we're talking like June, July, them months. As soon as the sun was up, you saw it. It stood out. You could see it from a long way off because it was just sandy coloured, and I used to see it quite regular. And Nick had it. Whether it was actually £40, I'm not sure because he weighed it on 2 sets of scales, But it was a big fish and he had it on crust in Sunnymead's Corner. And one time I was over there, where the workings were, it came in, and I climbed up this tree to get a better view of it, and I see this other carp, and it was a black, a lot darker, and a lot deeper and everything, and straight away I thought, that's a bloody big fish, because I knew that one was around the £40 mark, and I told Kenny I'd seen this big fish, and I reckon it's bigger than that. And then it was probably, I don't know if it was that season or a season later, but Colin Swaden and Dave Stave. Colin was diving in there in Sunnymead's Corner, and he reckoned he see this fish that he put over £50. And I said to him, what did it look like? And he described the one I saw exactly, and I'm convinced that was. But they must have died. That was probably old fish, you see.
Amazing, though. I mean, what was this, the black leathery thing or not? Was that a different? The leather that Laney goes on to describe when he started on the lake?
Oh, I don't know.
No.
I don't know.
What did it look like, Pete, the one that you saw?
It was just, it was big, and it had a deep body, it was black on the top and quite light underneath.
And do you think that these are fish that grew from those first trips that you described to us when you saw the fish spawning all those years before? Do you think this could be?
No, I don't think so.
These were just fish that either were put in or
they were there.
That you just hadn't seen them.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, obviously that's the scale of Raisbury and how broken up it is. It's no wonder that sort of myths grew up around it, because you presume you were still seeing different fish quite a long time into your time on that lake.
Yeah.
Let's have a look at some pictures, Tobes. So let's start. Let's go down to the bottom, mate, because I don't know what that fish is, Pete. What are they?
Well, I don't know.
Is that a raspberry carp?
That's a raspberry carp, yeah, yeah.
Let me know if you want me to throw any of these up.
Yeah, throw. We'll put that up, mate. As I mean, that. Just,
This
I
one
want to
here?
see it. Yeah, go to the bottom one again, mate. Go to that one. Just have a look at that. Just because I don't even know what that fish is. I've got absolutely no clue.
I've got a feeling, well, I don't know, but I honestly don't know.
Would that be quite early in your fishing? Pete?
Yeah.
I mean, fish like that disappeared because I don't even I don't recognise that at all. Let's keep going through, Tobes, because you know, and obviously we have got far from the kind of comprehensive album of your shots, but I would say if people want to see them, the books that you did with Keith Jenkins are a really good resource in that sense. If you want to see some fantastic carp, I don't know if I imagine they're long since sold out, but you could find them on eBay, I get that kind of thing, but well worth getting. That fish,
that was the first one I ever caught.
So that's the Hoover again.
Yeah.
The Ritchie then caught. Yeah, mega one though. Look at it. Can you remember the situation?
Yeah, I sat there for 4 hours, but
that was a floater.
Yeah.
I mean, if there was a sort of archetypal raspberry carp, that's.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at that and think it could almost be the one that Richie had poached out of Redmire. There's something similar about that kind of.
Well, they were all similar strains back in the day, weren't they?
See, there was, funny enough, Mary and Mary's mate, they always assumed they were sort of, I didn't name them, somebody named them, and they always put them two together. Now, when I first caught Mary's mate, it was 26 and a half pound, and there was another one, was it this one? Yeah. The pair of them used to be together. If I caught one, I'd catch the other one, you know?
Yeah. So and actually, they were more closely linked than Mary and Mary's mate.
Yeah, because Mary wasn't in there then, you know? And this one, I'm sure it was this one, it went on the missing list for 7 years.
Really?
And then I'm round in the Stile, just packing up to go to the Percy for breakfast, and I put one just round in the edge, like. And as I'm packing up, they've come, Kenny and that tall Bob, I forget his name now, Bob Whitewood, come round. So I go to breakfast in a Percy, and I'm packing my gear up, and the rod's gone, like, and I'm not kidding you. That was a real good thrill. That was, because I'm up high, quite high off the bank, and I'm playing this fish, and I could see it was that one, right? And I could see it all, because it was gin clear water. I see all the fight and everything, and I was over the moon when I landed it, and it was, I forget the weight now, it don't matter what the weight was, but yeah, and that hadn't been out for 7 years. I thought it was dead, but yeah.
Amazing. And obviously there was Olive, wasn't there, that you a fish that was
that common. Go back to that common. That was the 26 we had.
Oh, that's the Douglas Lane cap.
Yeah.
That was the one from the big hit.
Yeah.
Do you know? I mean, that looks really familiar. It looks a bit like the. Is it? It looks like one of the fish that was in there till quite recently, Pete. I don't know.
Well, let me put it this way. I always thought there was a lot more commons in there than what we caught. And I remember we were sitting in the Percy having breakfast, and a bloke came in. He'd been round Raisbury. Compo had caught a common, £34 common or 30, whatever it was, the week before. Phoned me up at 6 o'clock in the morning. Can you come down and take some photos? I said, right, I'm on my way. And a couple of days before he caught this fish, I'd seen one up in Sunnymead's corner that I put round the £35 mark, big common. And as I say, apart from that one, it didn't catch many commons. And he phoned me up at 6 o'clock in the morning to tell me that he's caught this common. Would I come down? So I said, right, I'm on my way. So I've gone racing down there, taking the photographs of it, and straight away I knew it wasn't the one I saw, because on its flank it was bare. It was like a big bare patch, no scales whatsoever. And I said, that ain't the one I see, Dave. Anyway, the following week, we're sitting in the Percy having breakfast, and a geezer comes in. Oh, I've just walked round Raysbury. There's a common dead in Peter Bryant's Bay. So me and you went round there, and we found it, and it was this one with the no scales that Dave Crumpstone had had, and we buried it. But there was more commons than, you know.
Including potentially, at some stage, red mar commons that you put in.
Yeah.
Yeah, go on, Tobes. Let's go through this. So what? I mean, that's an odd one. Is that a Raysbury fish, Pete?
I don't. Do you know what? I don't know.
We don't know. Let's move on. It's not one that I remember.
That is.
Yes.
I caught that out of Douglas Lane Point, off Douglas Lane Point, on a bit of floater in the weed. Caught it, landed it. Nobody on Raysbury. This was one day in the week. So I sacked it up. I had to drive to Longfield, get Ritchie to come over and take some photos for me. Right.
Do you remember that, Rich?
No. But the photograph's obviously good.
Yeah.
It's a magnificent carp. But look at that shoulder and the sort of the head and everything about it. Absolutely epic.
And then I caught it again. At the time, it didn't have a name on it. And then I caught it off of the platform in North Lake.
Diving board?
Yes, me and Kenny put that in. And I'd baited up out there, out towards that little island. I turned up this particular weekend, and I see Jerry Lampard. He was fishing for tench in the South Lake. So I had a quick word with him, and I said to him, I've got to shoot up. I've got to get back, because I've been baiting a little spot and I feel quite confident. Like, gone back to that platform, or whatever you call it now, the diving board. Got set up, put the rods out. Of course, you was only allowed to use 2 rods, so I've only got 2 rods out in the daylight, the afternoon. I had a take on one, played it, good fish, lost it, gutted. Next, the other one's gone, played it, lost it, gutted. Kenny's turned up. Pete, blah, blah, blah. I said, I've fucking just lost 2 bloody fish. I said, I'm absolutely gutted. And I thought, well, that's my chance gone. Anyway, he set up along the bank from me. And 5 o'clock in the morning, I think it was, I hooked what they called Olive. And the reason it got the name Olive, because his mate, who was a bailiff at Furnace Lake, come down, and he see it, and he said, oh, it looks like olive oil. And so it got the name, and it's 36, whatever it was,
Obviously a fish that went on to be a complete enigma, after, more or less after that, didn't it? Was it caught by John Hallett, maybe?
Yeah.
But hardly anyone caught it.
Yeah.
Why do you think that was?
Don't know.
Why did it go missing after you've had it twice, Pete? And then nobody, almost.
Well, I saw it the last time it was caught. Wembley Bob, his name was, because he come from Wembley and he was fishing on there, and he was into running, and he used to do a jog of the lake, and I was there one weekend, and I don't know. All I know is, that's right. I was in what they call No Carp Bay, and I knew he was on the sort of over to what he was fishing towards the football pitch. I heard this buzzer going the night. I thought he's caught a fish. Anyway, next morning I've gone round, walking round, right? I said, you had a fish last night, did you? How do you know? He says. So I said, I heard your buzzer. No, you couldn't have heard my buzzer, he's going like. But he did have a fish. I said, do you want some photos? He said, just. So I went and got Dave Cumpstone, and we'd gone round here. This ain't a word of a lie, right? As he's lifting the sack out of the water, you couldn't see through the sack or anything. As he's lifting it up, I said, that's Olive. He parted the bloody thing, and it was. And that was the last time I saw it, and it was the last time I heard of it getting caught, like, you know.
And it was around, wasn't it? You know, it stayed alive for a few years at least.
Yeah.
Long enough to frustrate the likes of Dave Lane.
Yeah.
About his time on the lake. How big was it, Pete, when that last capture? Can you remember?
38 something, I think it was. Yeah.
Mega fish. Talk to me about, I know a good friend of yours, Dave Ball, and can you talk to me a little bit about the Rayners situation and how that all came to be? Because obviously that must have been on your watch, so to speak.
It was. See, funny enough, I mean, I didn't know that 4 fish had been put in from Rayners. And it was one close season. Johnny Allen phoned me up and he said about meeting up and having a walk round Rosebery. So it was a lovely Saturday. Sun was out and we've walked all round Rosebery. Never saw a bloody fish, like. And this must have been the close season. And I got home and I thought, it's strange we didn't see anything. The conditions were perfect. Like, and I thought to myself, there's only one place we didn't look. And Douglas Lane, as you walked into Douglas Lane, to the right, they'd put a little bridge because they had to keep the digging rights. They had to dig a bit every now and again, like, and they dug about as big as this room. And they was digging out another pit down the road, and they had put it was like a stream running. And I thought to myself, I bet the water's running through. I bet they were there, like. So the next day, I've gone down there on a Sunday. As I've walked round to where I nearly trod on them. They was all there, like, you know. And I had some floater with me, and I flicked out some floater, started taking, and then I've climbed onto this tree that was overhanging the water, like, to get a better view of them. And this one fish was coming up, taking. And as soon as I saw it, I thought, that's got to be 45 pounds without a shadow of a doubt, like, you know. And I had such a good view of it. It had like one scale on its flank. And it took everything I had. Anyway, I went back home and phoned Kenny up straight away. I said, I've just seen a carp in Rosebery, mate. I said, it's 45 pounds if it's an ounce. He said, well, I said, no. I said, it's definitely. Anyway, then Johnny Perkins, he was down in Somerset, or down in Devon, and he got permission to fish this reservoir, Kennick Reservoir. And I arranged to go down and fish with him for a few days, and this was just before the start of the season. So I've gone down and I've told him and another guy down there about this fish I'd seen at Rosebery, and I was just itching to get back to Rosebery, like. And anyway, the season started June the 16th. I packed up there and drove back to Rosebery, and as I bloody pulled in Douglas Lane, there was fucking cars everywhere. And I thought, Christ almighty. And straight away, there's Richie Skidmore fishing the swim you were fishing, you know. And I said, Christ almighty, I said, anything been caught? He said, it's been 4 fish out. And I thought, bloody hell, like, you know. So he started telling me what ones have been out. And obviously that one hadn't. So I told him about this fish I'd seen. And the funny thing was, yeah, that's right. I fished. It wasn't until July that I got a phone call from Skiddy saying to me, "You best get down here." He said, "I've just seen some lovely fish coming into the swimming pool like that day. Take tomorrow off and come down." I said, "I can't. I've had too much time. I'll be, you know." And anyway, I got the weather forecast and they said it was going to be lovely and sunny. So I took the day off work, gone down and met him. And, well, I've told the story a few times. Bloody 4 fish came in and I climbed out onto this bough of this tree and we was floater fishing and I had a controller and I said, "Pull that controller up." And I stuck the bait. And anyway, to cut a long story short, I've hooked this carp, and as we're trying to, because he's jumped down into the water to try and net it, and he couldn't reach it, and I only had my stalking net, which was smaller than my springbow net, right? And he's got it as far out as he can. I was in 2 miles where to jump down into the water, but then I didn't know how deep it was, and I knew it went straight down. And he said to me, "Bite the line." And I just bit the line and it dropped down into the net, like, because it got caught up on a branch, you know. And as we scrambled up the bloody bank with it, opened up the mesh and there it was, the one I'd seen. And then we weighed it up and it was 45.6. And I was more pleased about being accurate with the weight that I'd put on it than anything else, like, you know.
And that was Mary.
Yeah.
What had happened between it being put into, and how? What was
Oh
the difference?
yeah. Now, it was a year later that I found out because I'd made a little. In them days, we used to think about our fishing and what have you, like, and I decided that there was an area that I thought was going to be perfect for catching a couple of good fish. And if the conditions were right. So I made this little spot. It's now called Mary's Point. Nobody knew it was there. You couldn't, it was all bushes and Christ knows what. And I cut out a couple of bushes. I could just about get a brolly in there and a couple of rods. And I'm sitting there. Oh, John. Oh, Johnny Holt come round, sat there having a cup of tea, like. He said, "This is a nice little spot." I said, "Yeah, this was November." I said, "I've made this for next summer, like." Oh, yeah. Anyway, I've gone down there. That's right. It was just after I'd Mary and Mary's mate, right, that time, because I got them from that spot. There was a guy called Barry Mawanks, or whatever his name is. He come round with Dave Ball. And he had told me a couple of weeks before that he'd put these fish in from Rainers. Because it was funny, because Kenny caught a fish that we didn't recognise. I caught another one that didn't know nothing about. And then it was Mary. And he said to me that he'd put these fish in from Rainers because Rainers was going to be filled in. Don't say anything to Dave Ball because Dave Ball fished at Rainers. So, you know, they're both sitting there, made them a cup of tea, and then Barry said something and I said something, and then all of a sudden Dave said, "What? You put..." And of course, then it all came out that these fish had been put in from Rainers, and the reason it was called Mary was because Dave Ball was a girl at Rainers, like, and yeah, when he caught it, it was
Mary.
So how big was they put in it then?
Do you know what?
They must have put in at a decent size then.
Yeah, well, it was
20s, weren't they?
Yeah.
It's not any up there, is it, Rich?
Well, that's the
That's Mary.
Mary on the
That
right
was
there.
40. That was when it was 45.
5, that is.
That
Is
is
that-
the right one, yeah. Shall I
Is
throw
that the skiddy capture? Is that the one where the skiddy bit the line? Is that the first capture?
Yeah.
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 So it is that one there.
Yeah.
And the funny part was, I've given Skiddy me. I had a camera.
Mm.
And
Sorry to interrupt.
That's right.
At the bottom there is actually Dave Ball with it out of Rainers. Look,
yeah.
that one that
Yeah,
down
that,
that.
yeah.
This one here,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice, let's throw that up.
So that's Mary.
Yeah.
Actually. So it would have been stocked around that size, I guess.
Yeah.
Jack Hilton down the bottom there, isn't he?
Yeah, with the fish on the dam
Yeah.
there. Look.
35
But
plus. Yeah.
getting back to that, when I had it out at 45,
Yeah.
Skiddy's gone off to get his scars and his camera and everything. Lucky enough, I was parked in the car park, so I had my video camera.
Mm.
Geezer turns up, who I knew from Kent, and he was a photographer. I thought, oh, that's good. We could get some good, decent photos of it. Told him that we'd had this fish, like, I'll take some photos. Got a new camera. I thought, I'm going to get some good photos here. Like, not one came out. He was so apologetic, like, you know.
Yeah.
And lucky enough, because I don't think I took any on my camera. I let Skiddy take some on his, and the video set up on a tripod, like, you know.
So that shot there that we saw, it was off Skiddy's camera.
Yeah.
It's a lovely shot as well. And you've got video of it as well.
Yeah.
Pete. Wow.
Yeah.
Do you have? When was the last time you looked at it? Have you had it digitized?
Yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Does it take you back to the moment when you see it?
Oh, yeah.
Because presumably that's your. Obviously, you went on to catch Mary again, and at 51.
51.8,
Yeah. So enormous at the last capture, but really it seems like that was the
Oh, yeah, it was, yeah.
the one.
Yeah.
A bit like your capture of Basil, Rich. I did want to ask Rich. At some point during the intervening years beyond the Basil capture, you mentioned a career in carp fishing. Opportunities started to come your way, didn't they? And actually, Pete, I did want to ask as well before we cover that. Rich is going to be he's getting these opportunities. You've obviously always shunned that kind of thing, haven't you? Despite the fact that these captures could have made you, as high profile as anybody, you never went down that route.
I just, as I said before, it's just a hobby sort of thing.
I
But
think
you-
he was high profile as anybody
Of
else.
course,
anyway.
no,
It's
absolutely.
just,
But Rich, you were the one with the commercial opportunities out of it, though.
Yeah, I was given opportunities. To be fair, they made their money. I didn't. That's another story. Arnold's Rods and Tackle, when they first rang me after the 45-12,
Yeah.
I said, put your name on these rods, you'll never have to work again. What a load of bollocks that was. But you still have to work, even if you put your name on something.
So what was it like? So after you put Basil back, it's huge news.
Yeah.
How many phone calls were you getting, and from who?
Well, don't forget, it's not like today. But a lot of people didn't have phones.
Yeah. How did they even find you then? How do they?
Well, a home number.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember, listen, some people, I don't ring anybody after 5 or 6 o'clock at night if they're married. Because back in the day, when people used to ring me up, it doesn't matter what time you ring me up, because I was always fishing, about fishing. And at the time, my ex-wife was understanding about that. She knew that's the way I was going. But I often hear people's wives in the background, is that fucking Ritchie McDonald again? So I never ring anybody up at night if they're married.
One phone number in my diary.
Oh, bless.
Eh?
Yeah. That's not even enough numbers, Pete, to ring a phone anymore, is it? There's been a couple of numbers added since then. Yeah. Amazing. So I mean, no wonder you did him a few photos then. So if the phone went late, there's a good chance it was Pete.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we
Or
was
early.
in regular contact. The only time I lost contact with the fishing world was when I became alcoholic from 1992 onwards.
So I just want to concentrate a little bit on these, because obviously you did have a ranges. You did the Normark thing, didn't you? I mean, there's loads of stuff I probably don't know about that you were offered.
First range of rods I brought out was with Arnold's Rods and Tackle. Then a range of rods with Normark. I think that's it.
And then obviously I think it was Damien pointed out before we came in that maybe the imagery of Basil was on the first Drennan
Yeah, adrenaline catapults.
catapults,
I've
the
done a
boilie
copper
pulp.
throwing stick. I've done all sorts of stuff for Nashi. Most of the big companies. Julian Cundiff worked out one night in my swim last year. He said, "You know what? I've worked out you've worked for 13 different companies, which is quite a lot back in my day."
Especially given as it wasn't really a thing.
Right. Yeah, it wasn't. No.
That you must have been among the very first, in inverted commas, professional anglers.
Yeah, I actually paid tax on it. When I went to work with Richard, they couldn't pay me off the cards. So basically, Clive Dietrich's brother, Ian, he said, I've got a good accountant. Right, this is God's honest truth here. I mean, not everything I say is true, but this is. But this is, believe you fucking me, this is true. So, right, Ian says, look, I've got a good accountant. Come down and see him. I said, all right. And now I ain't paid no tax for 12 years. Right, it's all been fucking paid now, so don't worry about tax man coming after me. It's been paid. Right, so we go down and see this geezer. You obviously seen Back to the Future. Well, the professor in there, the big...
Oh, yeah.
He looked just like him. I thought, yeah, you fucking kidding me. Anyway, so he goes in, he says, well, you're a bit of a fool, aren't you? Blah, blah, blah. Yes, I have, I know that, la, la, la. And anyway, so all I've got on my accounts is Monday, Tuesday, don't forget I can't read and write very well, so I've got Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, right? Monday, £50. Tuesday, out. Wednesday, out. Thursday, £20. Friday, whatever. And that's how my week would go. So when I screamed down to him, he says, right, this is the way it's going to go. You either hold your hands up and get dumped up to £25,000, or don't hold your hands up and get dumped 125 grand. I said, where can you get from 25 to 125? I don't own my own car, don't own a house, ain't got a house, I've got a bleeding council for. Well, that's the way the tax works, since you ain't paid tax for 12 years. Okay, fair enough. I'll hold my hands up. He cost me to doing 12 years accounts £300. For not paying tax for 12 years, how much do you think I paid? Well, £58 and so many pence, I don't know. But I'm tax-free now because I'm a pensioner and everything's paid. So that's done. So that's how I got involved with Richworth. And then basically, me and Bob fell out over certain things. Then I got involved with Mainline. And then we didn't fall out with Mainline, obviously, but then I went down a bad road. If I'd have stayed off the drink, I'd probably be wealthy today. But
Do you think, because the industry was emerging at that point, wasn't it?
It
wasn't
was.
like we see today. The opportunities weren't as professional, were they?
Well, basically, Tim Paisley and Danny Fairbrass, if you put them two together, they're a pinnacle of what carp fishing is today. Because basically, Tim Paisley came along in 1980-81, brought the Carp Society along with him, which then involved hundreds of more anglers. Don't forget, the BCSG and CIA and NESG were quite limited groups.
Oh, yeah.
The NESG, for example, was National Anglers and Specimen Groups. That means you had 5 people there, 5 people there, 6 people there. And every year, we used to love it, didn't we? Because basically what you'd have a conference at Loughborough University, which is the biggest university in this country, which I've fortunately been on stage several times. Once in stocking suspenders, I might add. And funny, yeah, wouldn't get on there, mate. Anyway, what used to happen, you'd go straight into the bar, get into your lodgings, right, into the bar. We'd all be having a drink, and all of a sudden, like Neville Ficklin, Des Taylor, all the top anglers, not necessarily Pete Smith, everybody. Bream angler, tench angler, carp angler, pike angler, chub angler, whoever. And all of a sudden, what you do, but when you're really drunk and you're walking around in the middle of the night, you think, right, what should I go and talk about? Oh, fuck it, let's go talk about some roach gear. So you walk into this place, all of a sudden there'll be a load of geezers out talking about roach and about that bread. Well, how do you put your bread on it? And you would, wouldn't you, Pete? You just go from one room to another talking about all species of fish, like.
Amazing.
It was amazing
Love
back in the day.
But sorry, Pete.
Because we used to go bloody chub fishing together, on the old...
On the Calm.
Yeah.
Where was it? Back what's its name?
Back of, what's his name?
That pit that I joined, I didn't know the name of it.
Not the fish, was it the fish? It wasn't the fishery.
Not the fishery, it's just down the road from there.
Yeah.
Oh, no.
But was this winter? Did you do your other species stuff in the winter?
Well,
or was this all year round?
We used to go right. Uncle Len Arbery, Uncle Bill Quillen, Uncle Bobby Joe. On this particular year, myself, Kenny Odder, Pete, Chris Yates, Bob James. Right, and the top man in the day with the barber was a geezer called Hooper.
Oh, Martin
Hooper.
Yeah.
And he was a bit of a gagger. And we crossed paths a few times. Like, we didn't get on that. But anyway, everyone that had fished there years prior, whoever caught the best fish of that session, got a little trophy. It's called the Chinaman, right? And underneath that Chinaman, there's a little plinth with all our names on. Who's caught the best fish of that week of that year. And for 30, 40 years, I've always thought I had the biggest chub at 5'12" until last year. Do you remember we met up with, what's his name, last year, Pete Cranston?
Oh yeah, Pete. Right, yeah.
So we was at the Carp Society, and was Pete. Anyway, there's a group of us talking, and I said, "Yeah, I mean that year when I had the best chub, 5'12". She said, "No, it wasn't 5'10". I said, "What, you think I'm going to nick 2 ounces?" He said, "Well, I'll ring the Chinaman up now." And I ain't kidding. He rung the geezer up. He's got the Chinaman. So how big is Richie's chub in 1970 or 80, whatever it was? It's 5'10". So I've been wrong for all these years on 2 ounces. But the rest of the fish are correct.
Love it. And it's certainly something you've done a lot of, Pete, isn't it? In more recent years, the barbel, roach, chub, pike, everything. Yeah. Do you think, when do you think you moved from being predominantly a carp angler into other, being an all rounder again, if you like?
When it all got
Too much.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. See, nowadays, you were fishing for what you thought might be a record fish. But now, it's, I don't know. It's just, I ain't got the same
focus like you.
No, I like to do different bits, different things.
It's the same focus, but in a different way. I mean, I look at the anglers today, the good anglers today, and they are proper focused, like Peter and I were back in the day. Like, I'll be up and down the tree 20 times a day, right? And I'll be in the water as many times as you would never see me. I'll be in there at night, I'll be in there any time. But now the focus now is on getting that bait out at a certain distance, getting that bait out. Like most of them, see the square panels you've got on that board there? A lot of anglers, I say, can actually cast that spot and bait that spot. I can't do that. I'm lucky if I bait this fucking room. But at the end of the day, I'll catch my fair share, which is one now and again, which I'm quite happy about.
Of course, mate. Of course.
I mean, I'm just as happy camping as I'm catching carp.
Let's talk one venue that you both absolutely had it away on, and that's the Con Club in the Colne Valley. Obviously not a lake that allows publicity nowadays, but this is, hopefully this is all right, given that it's all water under the bridge, isn't it?
It's a long time ago.
Yeah, exactly. How did it all come about? And you both have tickets at the same time, or were you guests?
No, I didn't have a ticket.
Yeah.
I had to go through the strings.
Okay.
Right. Basically what was happening was all fishing Yeovil. I think Pete was on there and all at the time. Jeff Spooner was on there. And Martin Moyer.
Yeah.
Who was his mate's name, the barbel angler?
Holland.
Mike
Holland.
Martin Holland. Holland. Something Holland.
Yeah.
I know. Anyway, Jeff Spooner's come back one day, and he's coming at my swing and said, geezer on my lake caught 320s. I was like, fuck off. 320s in a night? You kidding me? Don't happen, mate. Just don't happen. We ain't used to catching fish like that. Ain't happening. He said, come over and have a look. So I went over there. It's a Con Club. So he's got me guested on there. So basically, after a couple of weeks, which banging the old fish out. Oh, this is all right. So the first stroke I've ever had to pull was it wasn't a stroke getting the bailiff a cup of tea every day. He was a nice geezer when I was fishing there on a day ticket, a guest ticket, sorry. And Alf was his name. So I got him to put me forward. You had to get an address in the area. I didn't live in the area, so I got an address in Amersham. That's how I told blah, blah. And of course, my real name is such and such and such and such and such and such. But I'm known as Ritchie McDonald. Right. So when I get to this club meeting, the woman bailiff that didn't like me said, "You're not coming in here." So I've got my birth certificate here, love, blah, blah, blah. So in I go. I'm in. And of course, the next thing I know, I started off there with the cheese, the maple, and I was catching a few fish. Great. I mean, we were in Jeff Spooner when I was guesting. We were getting 4 runs at once. Honestly, two, and we was away. But I was getting calf. So the worst thing I ever done was ring Uncle Len Harvey up. I said, "Look, I'm fishing this place. It's got mussels in it. I'm getting torn to pieces." He said, "Oh, all right. What about this?" So he advised getting it. Remember the old what he used to use for pike, putting your roach on the pike, the bait you need, about that long, with a little hook.
Yeah.
So you put your line through the little hook at the top, with a cork underneath that, and that's it. Your line sticks up. I thought, get a cushy. So then the next season, when I got in, Tony Harbury, Dan Harbury, Bill Quinlan, they was all in, everybody. Anyway, I didn't fish it. I was catching fish quite consistently. And then it was after we'd been to Raceby, I think the year before, and done well with Pete. So I think Kenny had gone away on holiday again, and Pete was on the phone. I said, do you fancy coming over there for a guest on a bank holiday weekend? He said, yeah. Now, bearing in mind, Pete can't fish at night, I can.
Yeah.
And so basically, well, you got all the records there, Pete. I ain't got a clue how many fish we had. But what was happening, it was the first time I ever used a salmon. Right? Now, I was already catching fish with the maple. And then before Pete turned up for that weekend, I flung a salmon out next to my maple. And the salmon steamed off. And I thought, wow. So straight away, immediately, being a dodo, I think the salmon's better than the maple. Of course, so I started baiting up with the salmon. So the following weekend, I've got the fish on the go. I've got them on the salmon. So I invite Pete over. And basically, well, you got all the itinerary, mate. So
Yeah, well,
you carry on.
I met Ritchie at his place, and we sat there that evening, rolling bait till I don't know what time.
All salmon, presumably,
Yeah.
at this point, yeah.
And then about, I don't know, before it got light, in the middle of the night, we drove down there. We got down there before it got light, and Ritchie knew where we was going to fish. I mean, I'd never seen the lake. And we just put the bed chairs out, tried to get our heads down for a couple of hours till daylight. And then he said to me, I'm having the right-hand side. He said, you can have the left-hand side. Told me where to cast, and we cast out. And then it started getting blazing hot, like, you know, really hot. And all I could see was these carp swimming on the top. And I'm thinking to myself, we ought to be putting floaters out there, like, you know. And all of a sudden, boom, away it went, didn't it?
They were coming out of the orchard. You could see them at least 30 yards from our bait. But because the oil content was coming high in the water, they were coming straight across. To my knowledge, I've mentioned this before, no one else caught a fish like that. You had Clintonberg on there, Burger Boys on there, Jeff Rendell on there, Bob Davis on there, Tim Paisley, Greg Fletcher, various other top anglers. To my knowledge, no one caught a fish on there. I remember Bob Davis fishing next to me. He was going mental. Yeah. So I had some flavour. I said, look, take it home, make some up, you can fish. Probably right. Anyway, the next day he packed up and ran off. But I've been told that he caught a 30, but I didn't see it. Whether he did or not, I don't know.
Well,
but just before Pete carries on, these fish were coming out of the orchard on the top, and they were coming straight over to where we been baited up. And I'll tell you what we were doing, fishing like match anglers. As soon as he hooked a fish, I was putting bait out. As soon as I hooked a fish, he was putting bait out. And that's why we caught as many fish as we did. And will you carry on, Pete?
Well, they were coming along the circle, and then all of a sudden you see them go down, straight on the baits. But that Bob Davis, if you remember rightly, you probably give him the smell afterwards, because he come along and he was pulling his hair out, and he went away in tears that night. He come back the next day with bottles of flavour, all different flavours. He said, anything like this, and he was.
I gave him the flavour, you know, so take some home and make some bait up. But anyway, Pete's got the list there. Pete couldn't fish at night, by the way.
Yeah.
Did you carry on catching through the night, Rich?
I did, yeah.
He did.
But Pete's got all the
Just pull that mic a bit closer, mate, Rich. Or yourself, maybe.
Let's
get some.
I'll do both.
Yeah. Let's get some pictures, Toad,
Come
as well.
closer. I remember the last time someone said that to me.
So Constop one, yeah. I mean, would that have been the sort of era?
That's 25 plus, yeah.
Yeah, I mean that hat, you were wearing that hat at Redmire, weren't you? So how long did you have it for, Rich? Is it?
Well, when I came back fishing 2-3 years ago now, I picked it up. Simon Artop was coming around my house to take. We weren't coming back here, barbel fishing. and I picked it up and just felt a dust.
Oh,
That's what Simon bought me himself, Simon Hartop.
yeah.
So it's very similar.
Mm, mm.
But as you can see, they're a good stamp of fish there. I mean, Pete knows how many we got. I can't remember how many we caught and what size.
So this is later on, so not those, but this would have been that sort of same time.
Yeah.
Love that.
Let me know if there's anyone.
Yeah, go on, do that one, mate.
This one here, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one your dad said earlier. It's very Ritchie McDonald or one
Yeah,
of them.
you like that
yeah.
one.
Yeah, leathery ones, Rich.
Yeah, they would. You don't see many fish like that today with the stockings of lakes today. But these are old type carp, like proper lean strain type fish.
Did you enjoy it over there, Pete?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. It was.
What does the list say? How many are we talking?
Right. Read about, Pete. Read about. Read them and weep.
Ritchie, 24.8, 31 pound, 14 pound 8, 20 pound 8, 20 pound 8, 1 lost, 23.8, 9.6, 2 lost, and myself I had 22, lost 1, 14 pound, 11.8, 23.4, 9 pound, 21.8.
So these are like you'd heard. They are good a lot of 20s.
Yeah.
You ain't finished this yet.
No, I know.
And then 13 pound for me. Ritchie, another 25 and a 26. Tench, lost a couple, lost 3, and 20 pound 12. Yeah, I mean, it might have been more than that, but yeah.
But
Is that from the top? Is that from the trip? You actually had that bit of paper then, or have you transferred that
I
onto?
probably transferred it. I don't know.
Is it a little diary you've got, Pete? There.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be worth a lot of money one day.
I tell you what, looking at the spine of it, mate, it's probably going the same way as your hat.
Well, no, that's a new hat.
Yeah.
My old hat is gone.
That's what I mean.
And not only that, the boots that I had as well, them muckluck boots. When they first come out.
Those we're talking about there?
No, they're the old proper Derry boots,
Derrys,
mate.
yeah.
Yeah, they're no more.
It was August, wasn't it? Yeah.
It was August bank holiday. As I say, the lake was jammed, and to my knowledge, no one else caught a fish on the lake.
That's right.
Do you want me to rattle through?
Yeah, may as well, Tobe. Yeah.
Go through some more.
Oh, so there's one with Pete, right? Is that?
Yeah.
Let's throw that
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
That's got to be the session then, hasn't it? Did you go
Yeah,
back?
yeah.
That's it again there.
Yeah. Yeah, it's the only time I ever fished there.
Kind of makes me think that one that we thought was Raisbury. It looks like you were wearing the same top.
Nah, it's different.
Yeah.
No, that's
Mega carp, that one.
That's what you might call it.
That's what?
Ain't that the Con Club?
Yeah.
what's the concept?
Sorry,
Sorry.
I was just talking about a different shot from earlier, but lovely deep fish, like the lovely scales on
Yeah.
him, isn't there as well? Love it. Not thought about bringing the beard back, Pete, like Richie
I
has.
have done a few times, but I look like Father Christmas. So.
Oh, this is the shot we're talking. Yeah, go on.
Just throw that up.
Yeah.
Is that from the session as well?
I mean, we're both playing fish at the same time, you know.
There's the old
reels,
bivvies that we had.
Yeah. You know, reels
Big
were
water lot.
spinning.
Did you sell the water lots?
Yeah, I've
You
got so Watford Lloyd Bent Watford tackle shop. He give me £1 for every one he sold. But then after that, Nashi brought out a better one, so that went by the by. But me and Pete stuck with it for a few years. But then after that, I think Pete the Alfred Ball come in, didn't it?
What kit were we talking there, Rich? Like what we're using? The rod's not overly.
See that
bent
jacket?
necessarily. Yeah.
I've still got that.
Have you?
Yeah.
Carpy
That'll be worn again when I get a 35 plus.
You take it. It's up with you at Norton, is
That's
it?
at Norton with
Yeah.
Disney with me now. Yeah.
And what we're talking then, because like I said, the rod's quite fast taper, isn't it? Have things moved on a bit by then, or?
Yeah, slightly. I mean, not like the rods of today. I mean, that's no standard of rod at all compared with what the rods we're using now. But back in the day, I mean, it was as good as any. The only thing that I'd done different than the ones before was that most carp rods had 30 to 32 inch handles. Well, I always wanted to manoeuvre. I always prided myself on being able to play a fish. Jim Fielding wrote a book, and in this book he's wrote, Richie plays a fish like a dog on a lead. Basically, I tell the dog where it's got to go, not you tell me.
That's right.
And so basically, when I designed my first set of rods, I wanted them to go across my body, because when you try to move, the butt hitting me all the time. So
A short handle,
my handles on any rods I've designed have been 26 to 28 inches.
Mm-hmm.
My barber rods are even smaller because I like to be able to move that easily. With a carp, it's a bit different, it's a bit more weight.
Mm-hmm. What's the art to it, Rich? Like in terms of like getting them to do what you want them to do?
Having a bottle to do it in the first place.
Right, yeah.
Basically, look, Dave Campbell's been with me twice when I've actually opened a butt alarm. Right, one was at Savay when the fish was running so fast away from me, it was going towards this overhanging tree on the island. So I thought, well, how am I going to change this? So I just fucking opened a butt alarm, and he went, "What are you doing?" I said, "Well, I ain't going to fucking run forever. It's got to stop." And then it stopped, of course. Now, for any of yous that have hooked a fish and lost it and seen it, it fucking stops. It don't go darting around all over the place. So basically, by opening the butt alarm, it's going to stop, and then you can slowly turn it, and away you go. That was the first time. The second time, this is on a barber's hook at Norton Disley, right? Him and his son came out to visit me last year, and this is a £30 and all, I think. Basically, the fish has got me weeded up. Oh, fucking hell. I can't do nothing with it. So I put the butt alarm. Dave went, "Are you kidding me? A barber's hooked." I said, "Well, mate, I can't do nothing else." And all of a sudden the line went away and I just picked it up, played it in again. And as Pete's just said as well, it's just having a bottle to do it. The only thing that I'm finding now, I'm playing fish differently than what I did back in the day, because with a barbed hook you can afford to give it slack line and let them and try and change it. But with barbless hooks, you've reasonably got to keep a tight line on it for a reasonable consistency, I feel. I think I've lost a few fish last year by playing them the way I used to. I'm playing fish differently now than what I used to playing back in the day. Absolutely.
And fundamentally, Pete, the way you now fish, would you say is it similar to the way you've always fished?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think I play fish particularly hard when I compare it with my mate Kenny Odder, because like the first fish he hooked at Redmar, when I see him start playing it, I mean, he lost it, and I said, "You're just too hard with it." I said, "It's got soft mouths." I said, and he just, you know. And then at Raysbury one day, he's playing this fish, and because he was so hard with it, the spool just. But I am hard. I'm firm with them. You know what I mean? It's like the other day I caught this fish from this bush, and I bought a rod a few years ago at one of the tackle shows, and it's a 4-piece travel rod, and it's 8 foot in length. I've had more carp on that rod than any rod I've ever had. Just free lining. And I hooked this carp the other day, and I've hooked it, and I knew that I couldn't let him get up into that bush, like, so I just held on tight, and he come my way, like, you know. And it's just having the bottle to do it. Whereas I look at another mate of mine, my mate Chris, for example, he's so ginger with him, like, you know, and I don't know, and then he loses a fish, like, and you think, so, well, if you'd been a bit harder with that, you could have got that in. But I don't think I ain't as hard as what.
You must be compared to him, though.
I don't know.
I imagine, Rich, that your approach was still to be relatively gentle with it,
Well,
leading them in.
yeah, basically, yeah. I mean, if a fish is going that way, and I want it to go this way, I've got to get in front of it.
Okay.
So the quicker I can get in front of it, then I'm going to turn.
Oh, no, see, I don't.
So whatever way the fish is going,
Yeah.
if you don't want it to go that way, you've got to get in front of it to get the pressure on the way it's going.
Whereas you just literally physically try and turn it. Yeah. Okay.
Right, if you take the distance of this table, right, the width of it, I've been fishing in lily pads where the gap is as wide as that, about the length of this room. And to bring a fish through there's only one way to do it, in my opinion. This is the way I've done it. Is that as soon as you hook it, you just pull the rod like that while you're reeling and then just keep moving the rod backwards and forwards. That way his head's going, we don't know which way to go. I don't think you can do it when it's miles away. I'm talking about the distance of this room away. So it's an underarm cast anyway. It's not like 60 yards or 70 yards. I don't think you'd be able to do it from there. But bringing fish through weed, you pull to the weed and the fish will go away from the weed. If you pull to the weed, the fish will go away from the weed. If you pull away from the weed, the fish will go to the weed.
Okay. Chaps, let's talk a bit about the crayfish pull, because it is a shot that we want to include. Albeit, podcast listeners only will have to imagine what this looks like, but I'm sure you've seen it. But I don't know which of you was aware of that fish first. I mean, the Kingsmead fish, let's call it. It wasn't the crayfish pool at the time, Pete, was it? I think you probably went there before it was annexed off, didn't you?
Yeah.
What did you know about that lake?
Well, it was all just Kingsmead at one time, and then they bulldozed across. I mean, I remember the sailing boats going into crayfish pool and then coming back out again, But this was, I don't know what years that was.
70s, early 70s, right?
Because I fished over there a pike at first.
Yeah, you didn't fish a small crayfish, so did you?
No. Oh, I went over there once because I didn't know that the fish were in there. Because it was only, I found out, little Dave Goy.
Oh, yeah.
Him and his mate kept it quiet, and then me and Kenny found out that they had, and so I crept over there and see a few fish. And as you say, that big Kingsmead, when I see that there was like a little point, and there was a big weed bed out in front, and I see it in there, and I thought, bloody hell, I cast the bait out there. I managed to hook it, but then I lost it, But yeah.
Where would that have sat amongst your other fishing, Pete? Had you had the brace, but at that point, the Oveny brace?
Something. Oh yeah,
the Oveny brace. Yeah.
But not like the Raspberry big fish. So this was still a
No, I hadn't had the Raspberry brace then.
No. So I mean, we're talking like a mid to upper 30, aren't we, at this point?
Oh yeah.
Which is a huge carp still.
Yeah.
Rich, when did you become aware of that fish?
I weren't aware of it. I mean, I was in contact with Pete. He never told me about it. The only reason I come upon it was when Kenny. I didn't know what Kenny. I still to this day don't know what Kenny knew or didn't know about this fish. All I know is one day at Longfield it was.
Yeah, I think he found out through Dave Goy.
Dave Goy, right?
Yeah.
Well, I know very little about what Kenny knew, but Kenny did know something. That much I do know. So I'm coming out of Longfield because it's packed and Kenny's coming in. So I went down. I said, ain't worth going down there, Ken. It's in Ram, mate. You won't get in anywhere. So he said, well, I've heard of a place up the road that's done a 30. He said, I know where it is. I said, what? He said, yeah. No one fishes it. I said, all right, let's go. So I went to this lake. I've never been there before. I've been to the big Kingsmead right on the other side, basically on the motorway side, right? So we get out the motor there and we decide to walk all the way around the lake to there. I thought, fair enough, I'll follow you because you've been here before. So why didn't we fish there as a first thought of mine? Because the lake ain't that big, we can cast. And then the next thing I know, I'm setting up, and Kenny's got set up, and he's got 3 rods in the margins. And I thought, have you been here before, Ken? He said, no. I said, well, you got 3 rods in the margins? Well, I've just seen one. All right. So I done what most anglers would do of our calibre, 1 in the margins, 1 out there and 1 out further. Stagger them till I know what's going on. So I get to the first fish in the margins. So I thought, then I know you're up to something. And it was, I don't know, 18 pound or so. And then I think Kenny had a fish. And then we was having a cup of tea around about 11 o'clock at night. So I had that, gone to bed. And then I think it was about 1:30 in the morning. I've had a run up. Ken, if that big one's in here, mate, I've got it on my line. And weighed it in at 35.12. As soon as I hit it off, boom, boy, that'll do it with me, mate. That's it. Yeah, I ain't worried about no more. It come in easy, nice. Weighed it up. I think it's on there somewhere, 35.12.
Yeah, I think we've certainly got the second capture, Rich, haven't we?
I don't know what one you've got until I see it.
Go on, let's
I've
have a
got
look.
one there.
Right, that's the first capture.
That's the first one.
That's 35.12, photographed by Kenny Otter.
Yeah. magnificent carp.
Absolutely was.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Pete, do you remember what your reaction was at the time when I mean, presumably, had you seen a picture of it at this point? Pre Richie catching it? No.
And when did Rod catch it?
Rod caught it. Right, I'd caught it that year, which I can't remember. I caught it again the following year in June when we were looking at it for the close season. I thought it goes 40 now, so I went to try and catch it at 40. And
that's it there. That's
the second capture there, and it was 37.12. And then this is what 1981 probably. Look at the reel.
yeah, I know. Yeah.
Is that a cardinal?
Yeah, that had an upgrade.
Not just the reel, Richard did notice earlier was the build of the rod.
Yeah,
the flared Duplon and the full Duplon.
Yeah, that's one of my own built rods. Not my built rod, the ones I designed years ago. But that must have been 1980 or 81. Because I was fishing on Saturday with Rod, and he said something. He was having a chat in a boozer, and he said, "I never catch big fish." I said, "Well, if you're on them, you will, Rod." I said, "Most of the waters you fish, you're like a match angler." I said, "You bring the fish in and you keep hold of them." I said, "But the thing what I've noticed with you, when you see a big one, you tend to ease off it a little bit instead of keep." Anyway, I put him on there, and he hooked and lost it while I was with him at one point, and I think he caught it twice after that.
We've got a shot a rod with it, haven't we?
I'm not sure. Oh yeah, they are.
Yeah.
And again, I mean, that was just before, just on winter time. And
you weren't tempted, Pete, to go back after losing it?
I honestly can't remember what sort of happened, but
did it go on the missing after this, Rich? Was it this? Was that?
Yeah, after Rod caught it, basically Kingsmead went on the missing list as for, because then I was going on to Yateley. Pete was concentrating more on Raysbury. I was spending my time mainly concentrating on Yateley for the bigger fish. That's when I say this is 81. And then
might have been later than that, 82.
Might have been 82, Pete. Might have been another year later. I ain't 100%. But I can remember from 84 onwards, I was concentrating my fishing on Raysbury and a con club and Arrow Waltonians. And
did you do these picks for Rod?
I done that, yeah.
Yeah, mega, great shot. Was it big there as well?
Listen, he caught it twice, and one of them was definitely over 40, but I can't remember.
It looks every ounce of it, doesn't
it?
Yeah, it really does. And obviously a fish that didn't do that many captures.
No, but to be fair, I don't know.
Before disappearing.
There was a reasonable amount of hounds that fished it. I mean, Clive fished it, Malcolm fished it, Kenny fished it, you fished it. That Dave that you was on about,
Dave
Goyer, I think he fished it. I think they fished it regular.
Yeah, they did.
And maybe one or two other local anglers, but
I mean, this is a small, deep pit, isn't it? Really, what would you say?
And it was full of crayfish as well.
Yeah,
4 or 5 acres, is it?
Yeah.
Oh no, we're near it. About 2 acres, if that.
Yeah.
2 acres, if that. But you had about 15 carp in there. I think there probably was.
Yeah.
I had them up to 24, 26, and I had that twice. But I only fished it the first night with Kenny. It was only the one night, and then the next year I fished it the first week in June, and I never fished it again after that. So I caught
Job done, though, isn't it?
I caught the 24,
yeah.
and I caught it then again at 37.12, and I weren't going to go and I don't fish for any fish more than twice.
Rich, talk to me about. I mean, obviously, Pete, the whole Yateley thing. You know, you never went back, did you? You've had Basil, you've had Heather early, and you were there presumably when Kenny had the big spawned up 40-pounder as well. Rich, you did go back. I'm not sure quite how long it was after Basil, maybe 7 or 8 years afterwards.
Do you know what? I can't remember.
It was getting on for the 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was 5.
84 to like sort of 90.
85, 86, 87, 88, 6, 7 years, as you say, Rich. Yeah.
And by that time, Yateley had quite a few of the fish had pushed on even further.
It moved on. I mean, the anglers had been more. You had other good anglers as good as yourself. Terry Pepperbridge, Jock White, Robin Dix. Robin Dix was an old hand at Yate anyway. Still fishes there today. I mean, he had ever as well. I think he had it at 40 as well. Didn't
he was the one that named it, or so.
So you had quite a number of anglers that were as good as you are, and even better. And so my target was first jumbo, and basically I started on that. And the thing that pissed me off more than anything is Rob Malin, several other top anglers. Everyone was jumping behind me on the car park. Like, you got that map there, Toby?
Yeah.
Will this lead last me long enough to get to that map?
Richie's going roving. We'll see, mate. We'll see. No one's done it.
No, this is you might
just hold on to it.
Just hold
right,
on
and then grab Pete's mic.
I'll put it behind you like that. Right, just so you all know what's going on here, right? Yeah. This is where I'm fishing here, right? Now you can see all these swims along here like that. Blah, 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 blah. Well, when you're famous like I was, people tend to think you know where the fish are all the time. It's a load of bollocks. You don't. You only think you do. Anyway, so basically, Ever was jumping here. So I told Malin, Malix, you name him, I told him. I didn't know you. Does this thing move about?
Yeah, I can move it for you.
Right. Can move it for
I can move it for you.
Oh, yeah, well, I can't do it from there then.
No.
Right, I'll stay here then. Right, so I'm fishing here. The only bloke that's took me up on it, the fish is here, was Kevin Malix. And he bivvied up here. I'm bivvied up here. Rob Malin was round here somewhere. Anyway, for a laugh, Rob Malin come down with a load of firewood. Well, here we go. So we had a big bonfire right between our swims there, which Kevin wasn't too happy about, but didn't bother me. So basically, a geezer's turned up here one day, and this is where you learn from people who don't know about carp fishing. He had about 4 runs. And the reason he had them is he didn't know. The frogs were spawning here. So the next time I fished it, I thought I made a beeline for this plot here, from over here, this swim here. So I could have a rod up here. But anyway, the rod over here went. Oh yeah, when they said to me, why don't you fish for it? I said, when I've caught this one, I'll go and catch her. Right, this is what had to go. So basically, I'm fishing here, to here, and also to here somewhere, along here. Anyway, this rod went, it got me round this tree, so my mate went into the water with me rod and brought the rod out to me here, and it was snagged up here, the fish, got it out of the snag and played it in. £40 something. So then, there's no way that I can move onto here and fish here, because people are going to come here, 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 because of who I am, they'll fish next to me. So I come all the way around here and fish from there. And I cast all the way over here. Took me about 3 or 4 casts to get it, but once I got it there, it was set, it was going to stay there. Come round, put a handful of bait out, that was it. This spot here is a known tench spot. So I had 1 rod on this, 1 rod in here. Right, my way of thinking was, I know Ever's here. She's been there right consistently through the times I've been fishing here. When she wakes up, there's only one place she's going to head for, and that's here, because there's fish moving there all the time, because I was catching tench all the time. My boy was, he was having the tench while I was waiting for this to move. I'll either catch it here or I'll catch it there. They were my only 2 options. The bad news came when Tony Moore turned up and caught Jumbo from this spot here earlier on in the year. And he turned up and fished here, which to me was don't cast over here, because he don't know how far out I'm, because don't forget, back in our days, people didn't cast out 60 and 70 and 80 yards on a regular basis. And fortunately, he fished along here, this area. He didn't know I was fishing over here. So he didn't cross my lines. And all of a sudden, I've had to bite and boss. There's a picture there somewhere. Oh, sorry, Pete. Sorry, Pete.
Now, Rich, I always remember on the old Yateley Yahoo video.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's Heather.
That's Heather, yeah. That's the second fish.
I don't think we've got a picture of Jumbo at the moment, but maybe we can find one for the final edit. But yeah.
And they was both caught within 6 days on very hard waters with very top anglers fishing alongside.
And a fish that had grown a fair bit, Pete, since you'd
seen
it.
Yeah.
But still, when you imagine the amount of people that caught that fish, I mean, look how pristine it is there.
And remained so, Rich, really, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to be fair, although, don't forget as well, we didn't have the kind of fish quality care that we've got
Oh
today.
no, that's right.
I mean, I was the first bloke designer an unhooking mat, you know, which is just a piece of epoxy
Was that
material.
the Romart one?
No,
No,
that was done by Rob, not Rob,
God, bloody hell.
Albert Romp and Jim Martinez. That was
Okay, got
theirs.
you, yeah.
Mine one was just I've done with ET products, and that was just a bit of a sponge with a plastic coating over it, which was no bigger than that.
Having said that, you've gone for
The 45 was done on a rod noodle.
right.
You know,
Yeah.
I mean, when you look at that fish, if you, we made a video of that, and if you time that video, if you watch it from start to finish, I've got that fish out of water for 15 minutes, and it's no problem at all. It was caught afterwards. It died many, many years later, like Heather did. All these people that caught these fish before and after us, some people even dropped the fish. Fortunately, not from a great height. I mean, one of the worst pictures I've seen of myself is holding.
It's jumbo, isn't it? I think
Not
you've got one
jumbo,
of
no. Jumbo was always low. All my fish after that fish, the Ashley Pool fish. When I got a photo,
the lucky one we used at the start, where you stood,
yeah,
stood up with it,
that's
aren't you?
that's wrong. You
yeah.
don't. You should never hold fish like that. But I was a young man at the time, you know.
I think if anyone's never seen the, most people won't have now, the Yahoo stuff that Jock filmed for you, it's a really good example of how you play carp, the jumbo one, once you get it moving again.
Oh,
Rich.
okay, yeah.
I don't know if you remember it, but it was all filmed. So
Wow. Yeah, the Yahoo crew, I remember they weren't filming it for me, they were filming it for themselves. I mean, what was good about it for me was I was the first bloke to catch 2 40s from 2 different lakes in 6 days. You know, and 3 different 40s from 3 different lakes and 4 different 40s from 4 different lakes. That's the last one I caught there.
yeah, I mean, you've got the Keith Sullivan went in for you. I mean,
That's
again,
right,
it's
yeah.
all part of the story.
Yeah,
But
it was too cold for me. I couldn't get in there. And all I wanted to do was pass the rod. I mean, another guy, Kevin, he was up a tree. Fuck knows where he got the rocks from. But I'm on 8 pound, 6 pound line, you know what I mean? And he's throwing fucking rocks down. I said, I leave it out, you'll break my line. And then I said to Keith O'Sullivan, I said, do us a favour, mate, get me Lilo, just paddle round with me rod. Don't play the fish, just paddle round it with the rod, give me the rod, which he done. And on the film, you can see the fish is still snagged up, and I've unsnagged it, and then away I go.
yeah, but again, it's just a good example of actually watching you do what you talk about with the rod, how sort of calm you are as well, I would say, during the whole thing there. And then Heather as well. Did they get the footage of Heather? They did, I think, didn't they?
I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I
I've got
remember
you can get it on DVD. It is out there if anyone's
right.
interested. Like I've got it at home, but you can't borrow mine. But no, it is out. It is out there. But Rich, albeit that was close to the end for you, actually that must have catapulted you into practically uncharted territory in terms of a big fish hunter.
Yeah, unfortunately for me, my drinking habits were getting worse, and after that fish, I started going through a divorce, and then the next couple of years we split up, got back together, and it was just too much for me to handle. I mean, I was working for Hounslow Angler at the time, and I actually ended up dead for 2 minutes. It was put out on the news that I had a heart attack, but I didn't actually commit suicide. That's how bad I was. And then basically, I'd already caught the last 4 40s. There was nothing else for me to do. I'd lost my ex-wife, and I just went down a bad road.
Yeah.
And fortunately, Damien's come along, Simon, Danny, Simon Pitt, because quite a few names I'm going to forget here, but you're all there. I'll think about you at different times of day and night. And if it weren't for you lot, I wouldn't be at that, especially Damien, without a doubt, because he's brought me as far as I've come. And this journey now, I mean, being back in touch with Pete in the last couple of years, we're in constant touch once a month at least. The best thing that Pete's told me in the last 2 years is fact he's got fucking seal trouble. I said, do you want to borrow my fucking shotgun?
I don't think we can go there, mate.
No.
When you go up to Norton Disney then, Pete, when you're doing a social, it's like the Con Club Mark II.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Well, it can be. There's no doubt about it. I mean, I've had them where I've had them 6 in a day. And when you're talking about 6, 23, 24, 25 and 26 pound, mate, that's not a bad bit of fishing.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
If you want a bit of other fishing, like if you're good, I mean, don't forget, I'm not a good angler anymore. I'm just a camper now. But if you're a good angler, you go on Pettis's, you're looking for 40s. If you're looking at Turners, you're 40s. If you want to catch loads and loads of fish, you go on stocks or you go on Odgets. If you want a bit of hard fishing, then come on my lake, come with me on Holden's. You know.
But basically, if you're going to Norton, go and see Ritchie first. Find out where you need to be.
No. Let's get this fucking right now, straight. If you're coming to Norton, you come and welcome to see me for a cup of tea, but you go to the lodge and you ask the geezers in the lodge because they know more about all them lakes than I do. So make it plain. Go to the lodge. Ask them.
And Pete, what about your angling? We've touched on it a couple of times nowadays. When you go carp fishing, what are you looking to do, and what kind of fishing is it?
Well, the last few years I've been doing, how can I say, more just day sessions or quick sessions. I got myself a boat a little while, a few years back. Well, probably 10 years ago now. But I set myself a target of catching a carp off the top every month through the year. And I ended up doing that for 12 years, 1 month. And me and my mate got my boat out of the river because I needed to put a new engine on it. And as we pulled it out of the river, we put 3 holes in the bottom of the boat. So I got it onto my drive, and this was like in the close season.
Is this Rich who sat over here?
Yeah.
It sat very quietly for a long time. Yeah.
And I decided it was time to pack up catching them off the top every month. And so I concentrated on getting the boat, stripped the boat down, putting it, sorted the cabin out, repaired it, everything. And but while I was catching them off the top, I learned an awful lot, you know, because I was out there sort of even in the middle of the winter when there was ice. The first year, January, the lakes had frozen over, but there was like a hole in the ice about as big as this table near some reeds, about 20 yards out, and I'm trying to cast a mixer out. I put some mixers in the hole, and I had fish coming up taking them. Cast my bait out there, and it took me a while to get a 3-line bait into this hole, and it was just sort of cat ice between there and the bank. And I hooked one and lost it, and I went back the next day and managed to catch one, and a couple of blokes come along and they've netted it for me, and there's big chunks of ice in the bloody net as well. But one thing I noticed on another time when it was like that, there's like a tree line all along this bank, and where the trees overhung, it was free of ice, but the rest of the lake was ice.
Yep.
And as I walked, I mean, I didn't have a rod or nothing then. I'm walking along, I could see all these fish in a line, mid-water. Put some mixers out, and I leant back against the fence, and I stood there for half an hour or more. All of a sudden, one slowly, so slowly, came to the surface, took a mixer, went back down slowly to where he was, and then spat it out.
Right.
And that happened, I don't know how many times that afternoon, like, you know. And I thought, bloody hell. And it was as if they knew what it was, but it was too cold for them. Yeah.
Can I ask, Pete, are you doing anything with your mixers, or are they just going in as they come out the bag?
No, they're going just as they come out
So
the
they're
bag.
smelling that?
Yeah.
Or do you think they're seeing
Well,
it?
they obviously smell it, because when you've noticed, if you're fishing in pads or up against pads, you get mixers land on the pads, and they're trying to knock them off the pads, like. And when that time when it was iced over, I'm trying to put a pouch of mixers into that hole. They're going everywhere, and next thing you know, you got magpies, crows, and everything, robins fucking blackbirds, all coming down to, and I could see fish under the ice trying to get the mixers on the ice, like, you know.
I mean, that's hardcore beyond belief. I wouldn't even consider it.
Yeah, well, the thing was, it all started with Dave Ball. We was at Korda doing a work party one March. It was middle of March or in March, and it was a lovely day. The sun was out, and I said, it'd be a lovely day to catch one up the top today. Nah, too early. I won't be up with this. And I went back home, and I went up to my local lake, and I managed to catch 3 out the next afternoon. I phoned him up. I said, it ain't too early. Like, and that's how it started, and I just kept it going. Like,
For 12 years.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Which is the month that's the most difficult to catch? It might be obvious, but I don't know if it is.
Funny enough, that first year, February was the worst, because I thought, I ain't going to do it. And I had a couple of days left to catch one before it would have been, and
it nearly stopped before it started. This whole run
yeah,
that you had.
yeah. And I see a couple of blokes in the lake. Funny enough, the blokes that managed to net me fish with the ice, I see them because they was a matchman, like. And I've gone and had a chat with him, and I'd been round the lakes. There's 3 lakes here, like at this particular venue. I'd been round and round, I hadn't seen a bloody thing, like, and I'm thinking, only, you know. And then I had a chat with him, and I'm walking along the bank, and a fish just where Richie's feet are just rolled. I thought, fucking hell, there's a fish there. So I had some mixers in my pocket, threw a handful of mixers in, and I just stood back, waited. All of a sudden, a pair of lips come up. I thought, fucking hell. So I've run back to my car and grabbed my rod, and a guy who I know, Colin, him and his mate turned up, and he said to me, have you done it yet? I said, no, but I'm about to, like. And they were loading their barrows up to do the night, and I've gone back round, and I've put some more mixers in, and I'm there with me rod light, and I've lowered my mixer down. It was only like down there in the margins, and I see them coming along with their barrow. All of a sudden, this fish taking it, a common it was. I've hooked it. My net that I put behind me was caught up in the brambles, like,
as always. Yeah.
And he see me. He just dropped the barrow, run round, got the net for me. So that was it. And then I caught one a bit later on, like,
and then carried on for 11 years or whatever after that.
Yeah.
But you were, I think, floater fishing aside, when the boat goes back in, is it already back in the boat?
Oh yeah. It's been in a few years, about 3 years now.
So your short sessions, do they tend to be just the floater stuff these days, or do you like to do a bit of sort of stalking or bottom boat?
Yeah, I mean, I go around doing a bit of stalking. I like to get on the river because I can get away from people, like, you know. As I say, the other day I was out and I had a nice common.
Do you get them off the river though as well, off the carp?
Used to be able to get them off, as I say, with the seals. This winter's been the worst winter I've ever known on the river. I mean, I couldn't even catch bloody roach, even with maggots.
So you've seen that change a lot, because again, in your books, certainly the last book, there's an awful lot of river stuff, and you catch a lot of different species, don't you?
Yeah.
A lot of big barbel.
Yeah, I really thought I was going to get a record barbel at one time. But funny enough, I think the barbel record that's just gone, that was one of the fish that I had, and it's gone into another river, like, you know.
Okay.
But for the last, I don't know, few years, last couple of years, 2 or 3 years, I only had a handful. Well, I had one, was it last year, I think? One barbel, you know, and it's, when I think back to the amount, bearing in mind, nobody knew that these barbel were in the river until I started catching them, like. But I was catching some beautiful carp as well. And they've disappeared. Well, I know the farmer told me that he'd seen the seal tossing carp up in the air, like, you know, playing with them like a cat and mouse sort of thing. So I think they've done a lot of damage, especially with last year, with the waters being so low. You can imagine that.
Easy work.
Yeah.
But it seems like you still get a lot of pleasure from being involved in the scene, especially with the whole RO thing for the BCSG. It's obviously still a big part of things.
Yeah. No, I just try to enjoy myself and keep myself to myself, really.
Is it a good cut? Is it like a good fix? You know, going and spending time with those anglers in your region. And I must admit, they are a good bunch. Mind you, there again, bearing in mind, I was an RO for Surrey and Kent at one time. Then I moved down to Sussex, so I gave that up. And when I moved down to Sussex, you might know him.
You tell her his name.
You
tell her his name.
Yeah, I'm just. I had it on the. I can't think of the end. But anyway, he invited me down to the Sussex region, or invited me along to the meetings, and I went there, and there was only 4 or 5 of them there, but one of them was Harry Haskell, one was Brighton Bob, and a guy called Pat Hill, and they were lovely blokes. And then, I nearly had his name then. He wrote the book River Carping.
Neil Waite,
that was it. He was running it. Yeah. Anyway, something happened and he dropped it. So Ken Dallow, who was the thing at BCSG, he asked me if I'd take it over. So I did, and since then, it's just gone from strength to strength, like, you know.
and you found yourselves a new pub, I hear, as well.
Yeah, got a good pub now. Yeah. Bit expensive, but it's a good pub. Yeah.
Has Ritchie still got? He must have an honorary, surely.
He's still.
Are you still paid up, Rich? You paid up members?
Right, yeah. I mean, basically, I've been in and out of BCSG more times I've caught carp. But now, thanks to technology, I'm actually a member due to debit card.
Okay.
Because, I can't remember every fucking bill I pay. And of course, a year ago, I didn't get a magazine, and someone said, "Why haven't you got a magazine?" I said, "Well, I don't know." He said, "Well, you haven't paid your fucking subs, that's why."
Yeah, funny enough, just going back a bit, when we was fishing at the cons, Tim Paisley wanted us to join the BCSG.
Yeah, the carp site.
Yeah, the Carp Society, and he come down.
Well, I did in the end, obviously, because I saw it was a good thing. Because it was a big contributor. As I've said it earlier on, I ain't going to repeat myself. It's all on there. Tim Paisley is a big contributor into how carp fishing is today. Danny Fairbrass is a massive contributor, and obviously Pete Mohan was a massive contributor. Dick Walker was a massive contributor, and all these people have made carp fishing what it is today. Well,
do you know what, chaps? We'll call it a day there, because otherwise we will just go on and on. I'm going to put it on record that I believe you've both played your part in that, in the sort of establishment of what is now a massive scene. Just like you said about those other names, Ritchie McDonald and Pete Springate are right up there as well. No, that's not for you to say; it's for us to say. But I say it without any fear of it being wrong. So, gentlemen, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Cheers.
The Thinking Tackle Podcast.